Hey everybody, Karen here. Welcome back to Unpinned Creative and the next episode in the Creative Healing series. Just before I get started, I just wanted to let you know that this video is long and waffly. I do a lot of waffling rather than creating, so if you get bored and are not interested in what I have to say, then I'm also uploading a bonus video today where I will complete this page. So if you would rather just see the art happening, please forget this video and skip ahead to the next one where you'll see how I finish off the page. Alright, let's get into the video. And for the two pages I'm working on at the moment, we are talking about the topic of faith. If you didn't see my last video on this topic, please go ahead and watch that first to give you an idea of where we're at. So while we're talking, between the last video and this video, I finished off colouring these dancing angels, as I am now terming them. Thank you very much to Vicky for helping me work through that one about what I was going to call these figures. I think Dancing Angels fits them because initially when I decided to do these figures or saw them on the page, I saw them as angels, and then they have kind of evolved into dancers as well. So I have finished colouring them and I used chalk pastels for that, and what I'm going to do next is just go over the outline again with my water-soluble pencil, and while I'm doing that we will talk a wee bit more about the topic of faith. So in the last video I was obviously really conscious of the fact that faith may not be an easy topic to talk about, and I think a lot of my fear around that and the reaction of you guys, my viewers, to me talking about that topic and what I had to say on it was really a lot of personal held kind of fear around talking about that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess that's kind of where I kept apologizing and saying I didn't want to offend anybody, and I really don't. But as beautiful Jerry pointed out, faith means so many different things to different people, and she's quite right, and it is something that we should be able to freely talk about, what it means to us and that sort of thing. So I'm hopefully going to talk a bit more freely in this video, but still trying to be very conscious about not offending anyone with what I say. So I guess what I wanted to talk about in this video was a bit more about my artistic background and kind of maybe explain why creativity is where I had to or felt like was the place I could put my faith in my healing journey when I had lost faith in everything else. And so I was never an artistic child, or I never would have considered myself an artistic child. I didn't do particularly well at art at high school, and I only did the required, I think it was 6 months class that you had to do when you first started high school, and I didn't take it any further than that. I think I barely passed. Barely. And the whole time I was taking that class, I knew that I was the least, or one of the least talented in the class, or I believed that anyway. But I remember a situation when I was younger where my sister had drawn a duck, a yellow duck, like a rubber ducky duck, and how I loved that picture and really was kind of envious of how good she was at drawing and believed that there was no way I would ever be able to be, the artistic one in the family. However, my talent lay in the sewing area of creativity. So I loved to sew, and I started sewing from an early age, making Barbie clothes and stuff like that, and then making clothes for myself. And that was something that I really loved to do. So that's kind of where I put my effort into creating, was through sewing. And I still love sewing. I always say it's my first love. And my sewing machines are like my babies. They're part of the family. So that's kind of where I fostered my creativity. But I always loved to write and create books, and just muck around with making. Even with my sewing, I spent a lot of time making stuff that wasn't clothing. I created, for a long time, I made children's busy books out of fabric, and I loved that. And in fact, I've been thinking that I really need to make some more of those just for fun, because I miss making them. And I created all sorts of different themed busy books for children. And that was really enjoyable for me. And then it evolved into, I really loved to make handmade gifts for children's birthdays and stuff like that. I really liked to make and give a handmade gift. So once I had sort of made all the things that I could think of to make with fabric and stuff, I started dabbling in paper craft. And I'd always made my own cards and stuff like that at Christmas time, and all those sorts of things. Let me just explain what I'm doing now. So with the chalk pastel, you really need to seal it, because it will continue to smudge and move on the page. And you can seal it with a spray fixative. And if you don't have a proper spray fixative, I believe you can use hairspray to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try Mod Podge, knowing full well that Mod Podge, being a wet medium, is going to make the pastels move and blend together more, and also that water-soluble pencil. So I am going to seal that with Mod Podge and see what happens. I want to see what kind of finish it gives me. And this is the book to play and practice and experiment and see what happens. So that's what I'm doing. Yep. And so, yes, my creating evolved into paper craft, and I had been making my own Christmas cards and birthday cards and stuff like that for years and years and years. And really enjoyed that. And from there, that kind of evolved into junk journaling and creating mixed media altered books and things like that. So that's kind of how I got to where I am. Where the faith thing comes into it, I kind of wanted to be clear that my faith wasn't so much in my ability to create as it is in the joy that creating gives me. So in my darkest moments, when I had lost faith in everything, I think I'm just taking this pastel right off the page actually, and I'm going to lose all the colour doing this. Sorry, I'm just thinking that while I'm talking to you. So yeah, so my faith came from the joy that creating gave me, rather than the my ability to create, because I'm never truly confident that anything I create is very good. I know that I'm not one of the greatest junk journal makers or anything like that. There are people out there that create such beautiful, beautiful things. And my stuff tends to be very different to what's kind of the most popular things out there at the moment. But I do what I enjoy and what I love to do. And I've come to the realization that that is what I have to do. That if you try to do something that you are not very passionate about, or that's not really your style, then it doesn't really work out. So even though what I do may not be like what everyone else is doing or anything like that, or very popular with regards to the style and stuff like that, it's what brings me joy while I'm creating it. And so that's what I have to do, and that's what makes it interesting to other people, I think. I might be going back over this with the chalk pastels. I don't know if it's going as well as I wanted it to, this Mod Podge. So what am I saying? Yeah, so my faith came in the joy that creating gives me. So when I couldn't find any joy in my life and everything hurt physically, mentally, and emotionally, creating didn't hurt. I knew that I could take 10 minutes out and have a break from all the pain by creating, and that's slowly how my faith in life and living and healing kind of grew stronger and stronger again. And then I could return to having faith in things I had faith in previously. I hope that this is making sense to you all. I'll have to go back and listen to it and see if it actually does make sense. So I guess when I'm saying find the one tiny little thing that you can put your faith in, it's the one little thing that kind of gives you a break, that gives you some joy in an otherwise not very joyful time, if you're chronically ill or caring for someone who is chronically ill, or just not having a very good time in life at present. And that's why in the first few episodes I talked so much about giving yourself time and space to create, because in those moments, and it doesn't matter what you create, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's just that mere break from the stress of everything else that is happening, I think, in your life. So that's where my faith in creating comes from, not from my ability to create, not from how good I think I am at it or not, but from the fact that it brings me joy, and I can take a break from everything else going on around me and either put it all out on the page if that's what I need to do, or completely forget about it for a small period of time and do something else. Yep. Okay. Still not sure if this is going how I want it to go, but I'm continuing, obviously, as you can probably tell. another personal experience of mine with being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and all the things that went along with that medically. And please remember that none of this is advice or anything like that. It is just my personal experience, and every single person has to follow their own path in healing. You have to do what feels right and is right for you. So this is just my personal experience with my situation and what happened. So once I was diagnosed with MS, I started seeing all the specialists and following their advice and doing all the things I was supposed to do according to them. And after about maybe a year in, I realized I felt like I had absolutely no control over anything that was happening to me. So one of the treatments at the time, and this was maybe 15 years ago. I can't remember. I've already told you, I think, when I was diagnosed, having a mind blank. 15, 16, 17 years ago. 15 maybe. I don't know. One of the treatments was that I had to inject myself every day into a muscle, so intramuscular injection every day, and with quite a big needle, very long, quite thick needle, with a medicine. And the point of the medicine is to slow down the speed or the progression of multiple sclerosis, because there's no cure, but there are medicines that can slow the progression of it. And so that's what that's what my neurologist put me onto straight away in order to slow the progression of it. And after about a year of doing that, it got to the stage where I was in tears before I'd even, as soon as I woke up, just thinking about the fact that I had to do this injection, and, it hurts. And you get bruises, and then you have bruises on top of bruises and all that sort of stuff. And please understand, I know this is not, the worst that people have to go through. There are people that have to go through much worse things than I've been through, and I do understand that. I'm not, I am not trying to make out that my situation was very bad or anything like that. Please understand that. I'm simply just giving you my experience at the time of what was happening and stuff like that. So yeah, it got to the stage where I was in tears before I'd even, woken up thinking about the fact that I was going to have to inject myself. And I had kind of handed over all responsibility and care of myself and my healing to my doctors. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I felt powerless, completely and utterly powerless, and at someone else's mercy, the mercy of the universe, who, and my body, and the doctors who were prescribing the medication and telling me what I needed to be doing, with good reason, of course. But prior to being diagnosed, I had actually been studying nutritional medicine, and because that was something that I was very interested in. And as soon as I was diagnosed, all of that study and learning and interest went out the window, and I completely forgot about it. And I woke up one morning and realized that I needed to reclaim some power to feel like I had some control again. So I went back to learning, not officially, but reading and, learning as much as I could about multiple sclerosis and what you could do nutritionally to ease the symptoms and all that sort of stuff. And it was at that point that I realized I really needed to have faith in whatever treatments I was having, because if I didn't have faith in it, there was no point in doing it, because it wasn't going to work for me. And that was one of the biggest lessons I learned about healing. And even now, if I am recommending, or not even recommending, but suggesting options to people that have worked for me, I say to them, but you have to have faith in it, otherwise there's no point. If you don't believe in it or anything like that, or it just seems crazy to you, then don't do it, because it won't work for you. So this comes back to faith, doesn't it? Because I had to remember the faith that I had put and the learning that I had done, and find some faith in myself again and my ability to care for myself and nurture myself, and have some responsibility for what was happening to me, and how I was going to look after myself and deal with this issue, this disease that I now had been given and explained I was going to be living with for the rest of my life. And once I took back that control and power and became invested in learning as much as I could myself, against the advice of my neurologist, I might say. My neurologist said to me not to do that. But, I'm a rebel, so I did. I started doing my own research and figuring out how I could help myself. And then that's when I started to feel better and believe that I was going to be okay, and that, it wasn't going to be as bad as all of the scenarios I had been running around in my head. And I had a very young child at this stage. I had a baby under 2 and a 7 or 8 year old, and life, was busy and hard being a mum. And my youngest was, we didn't know at that stage, but had their own issues to deal with, and so never slept through the night. In fact, didn't start sleeping through, in fact, doesn't still sleep through the night, but I don't, thankfully, have to get up anymore. 16 years later, I'm not getting up in the night with them anymore, but so I wasn't getting a lot of sleep, and life was not the easiest anyway. So I've gone really off track now, and I don't know what I'm doing. Don't even know what my point was. I think my point was, that once I remembered that I had the power to, take some control of my healing and be invested in it, and, ask questions and do things myself to help myself, then things started to get a wee bit better. Now, that was pre me losing faith in everything completely. So later on down the track, I again lost faith in myself and my ability to look after myself and heal and all of those things. But at this stage, finding that, remembering that I had some power and control was very important in my healing process. And I really have strong faith in nutritional healing, in nutritional medicine, and you know, the ability of the body to heal itself and that sort of thing. So remembering that faith and the fact that I do have faith in that means that it works for me. Yeah, even if it's not scientifically recognized as treatment options and stuff like that for multiple sclerosis, because of my faith in it, it works for me. It makes me feel better because I feel like I'm helping myself. So my point of all of this is that you have to have faith in what you're doing. And if you don't have faith in what you're doing, then there's not really much point doing it, because unless you have no other choice, unless you don't have any other options, don't stop doing stuff just because of what I'm saying now, by all means, gosh. But, having faith in what you're doing and believing in it really just makes it so much more powerful. That's what I'm trying to say. So figure out where your faith lies in that respect. Figure out where whether it's faith in the doctors and stuff like that. That's perfectly okay and totally acceptable and understandable. And if you have complete faith and utter faith in what they're doing and asking you to do, then yes, that is the right treatment for you, and you do that. But don't sort of kind of go off and do every single suggestion that you have from all well-meaning people and stuff just because it's a chance. Like, you have to have faith in it for it to work for you, is what I'm saying. So faith is a really, really important part of the healing process in so many different ways. Having faith that you can have good days, even if it really doesn't seem like it, even if and the longer you're sick, and the sicker you become, the harder it is to have faith that things will get better and stuff like that. But if you can somehow find something to restore your faith, like for me it was creating. So it was at the stage, I kind of had to get to the stage where being excited to create something forced me to get up and start the day, so that I kept moving and didn't just stay in bed and stay in bed and wallow. I had to use my faith in creating, and that creating was a fun and joyful thing for me to do, to get out of bed and on some days and participate in life. And slowly more and more things, I found more and more things, not just creating, to encourage me to get up and participate and that sort of thing. Although now, when my situation changed with my youngest, my life has become all about creating, which I'm so grateful for. So grateful that I have the chance to spend most of my days creating and making art and making things, because it's enormous fun for me. It might be I think I'm making a big mess here. It might not be something that everyone wants to do all day every day, but it's certainly something that it's like my dream to just spend all day making things and creating. So I'm very, very lucky and blessed. And so I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you all so much for being here, because, you know, you guys are the reason I'm doing this. You give me a reason to create these things and have a chat and, you know, talk about life and stuff like that. So, yep. Okay, this is going okay. So I'd love to know where you find your faith and your kind of, you know, reasons to, if you're living with a chronic disease or caring for someone with chronic illness, how you, when you're not having such a good time of it, how you get out of bed and you know, that sort of thing. What brings you joy? Or do you even, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that really struggle to find some joy and some reasons to get up and stuff like that. So how can I help you with that, I suppose? What sort of things would you like me to cover in this series of creative healing, just from my own experience? Or if I've had, you know, similar experiences and stuff like that, then I'm more than happy to talk about how I've continued to get through each day. And I still have rough days, believe me. I have, most days I am in pain of some description. And some days are much worse than others. But I would say probably more and more now I'm having better days. And I think that has a lot to do with me trying really hard to find joy. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not hating how this is turning out. Obviously, a spray fixative would have been a really good option to keep the colours and everything as I had them initially, but I quite like the finish this is giving me on the page. So I'd say it's not a disaster yet. So yeah, I create lots of different things, not just junk journals and mixed altered books and stuff like that. I still sew. One of my regular jobs is sewing for the Eco Warehouse, so I make some of their products for them. They're an online company here in New Zealand that sell kind of environmentally conscious products. So I've been doing that for a few years, and then I do my art journaling classes in person, which are really just whatever the customer, even though I don't like calling them customer. Whatever my lovely clients would like to create, we create, and I just help them with ideas and what's the word I'm looking for? Oh golly. Techniques. That was the word I was looking for, with the ideas and techniques of how to achieve what they're wanting to achieve. And it's lots of fun for me. I really enjoy it, and they tell me it's lots of fun for them, and they really enjoy it, so I'm very grateful for that. So that's another thing I do. The other thing I'm doing at the moment is I'm working on a very large textile art piece. It's a wall hanging, and I am just about finished. I am so close to being finished. It's been a very long project. I've been working on that for probably nearly a year now, on and off, depending on how swamped I get with other stuff. But and it really shouldn't have taken as long as it's taken, but it just did. So, and I'm loving that. I am excited to see it finished and off to its new home. I'll be very sad as well, but I've really loved doing it. It's been so much fun, and I will do a video and show you it once it's complete. If you're interested, I'll put it on my channel. So I'm hoping to do some smaller textile art pieces now I've done this massive one. Maybe some covers for journals or something like that. Might be quite cool, I'm thinking. So that will be fun. And working on maybe 3 journals at the moment as well. And have lots more lined up in my head and on my to-do list to get started on. So the thing with me is I am never out of ideas. They come constantly. I constantly am having ideas, which actually gets overwhelming at times because I don't have the time, obviously, to implement them all. But I really want to, and they're all things I really want to do and try, and you know, all that sort of stuff, but I just don't have the time and energy. But that is one thing I'm grateful for, is that I know that I will never run out of ideas, never run out of something to make or do with my time, aside from all the normal non-creative stuff I have to do as part of everyday life, which never seems to end either, housework and all that sort of stuff. But creatively, I know that I have enough ideas to last me a lifetime for sure. And in fact, that's the only thing that worries me about not being able to create anymore, and the end of my life, is that I won't have made all the things I want to make. And then I don't want any regrets of not having made something that I really wanted to make. So that's probably why I start so many projects, you know, have so many projects on the go all at once. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys like to create. If you're all junk journalers or art journalers, or if you are not, if you just enjoy watching people create, or maybe you're gardeners or cooks, or those are all very creative hobbies as well. Everything is creative. Everyone is creative, no matter what you're doing. It's a creative, you have creative activities in your life. I am positive. Positive. Right, nearly done. Nearly done. This is taking a wee while, isn't it? And then we'll pop this aside to dry and I'll show you what I'm going to do with the other book. I am doing lots of chatting at least. Usually I get very quiet when I'm doing something like this and forget to talk to you all. I mean, it must be incredibly boring for you to watch. There's not much going on here, but maybe my scintillating conversation will be keeping you entertained. What else can I tell you? Our weather seems to have settled down a bit. We've had a wee bit more rain, but nothing too major. And then a bit of sunshine, finally, for summer. And we're nearing the end of summer. It's nearly autumn, or fall, as you call it in the States. My youngest is doing well at Polytech. If you've been following along on that, that has been a big change in our lives. So I haven't had a day by myself without him for at least 5 years probably. And so the house was very quiet and empty on the first day. That's going to take a wee while to get used to, but I have lots of creating to do, as I was just saying, so I won't be at a loss for things to do, that's for sure. And we have, 4 cats, a bird and a dog to keep me company. So I won't be lonely. Alrighty. What do we reckon about that? I think that's okay. I think that's not too bad at all. Alright, I'm going to put that aside and let it dry. And we'll come back to that next time probably and finish it off. Let's bring in this one. So last time I glued some book page onto the single page that I had in the middle of these 2 pages. And what I'm going to do now is, because I want to keep the title and the authors of the book, and I want to keep this dedication as well. So what I'm going to do now is make a little door. I'm going to make this page with a little door in it so that I can open the door and see this dedication. So I'm just going to draw where I want the door to be. Maybe I want the illustrators in there as well. So we'll make it a decent sized door. Try and get it straight. So this book has a very different feel to it, obviously, because of the dark colour. But this page is going to be still about faith. It'll just be, to me it will be, and that's, that's the only person it needs to mean anything to, because this is my art journal. Remember, I keep saying that. You are the only person who needs to understand the page. Right. I think that's pretty straight. Yeah, so this will be still kind of the same thing, but just done differently. Now I need to make that a door, so I'm going to pop my cutting mat underneath, grab my craft knife, and I'm just going to open up 3 sides of that square that I made. So now, and I'm just going to pop my ruler here on the edge of each of those 2 cuts so that I can push this back without tearing the page further, and then I can push that down. I'll use my bone folder to make a decent crease. Okay, so now we have a doorway, and I'll be able to see the dedication, and the back of the door has already started to be decorated. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is glue this frame down to this page here. So I'm going to glue right down the side here, right beside where that crease, the hinge is for the door. Right along the bottom, up this side, and along the top. And I'm just using wood glue. PVA would be fine, Mod Podge would be fine. Just use whatever glue you have. So remember, if you close your cover on your book, then the page lines up better with the page beneath it when you're gluing them down. Okay. So now we have a doorway, or a window, whatever you want to call it. And now we can start to decorate and put some texture and fun stuff down on this page. We are already quite far into the video, quite a long video already. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm sorry I haven't got much done, and that was probably pretty boring for you watching me Mod Podge that. I'm sorry. And talk about crazy things. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.